have a summary of our explanation of observational studies and experimental studies, right? So first of all, an observation study, one of the elements is what? It should not influence the explanatory variable, right? So there's no intervention introduced, there's no new medication introduced to the participants. That is our observation study. Once again, there are three types of observation study as follows. If it involves just a short period of time to consider the study, then that's called a cross-sectional study, right? Second, case control. If we are talking about a retrospective approach and seeing some, previous documents and some previous information regarding the participants or group of participants as well, as it can also be a comparison, right, between participant 1 and participant 2, or the group of participants on both, okay? And the third is what we call a cohort study. It's a long-term study, where typically you have two groups of participants. They were already having some sort of like explanatory variable that was they've been exposed to, but it's not due to the researcher introducing them to that intervention. It's already pre-existing with them, right? But still trying to compare the two groups, well, at least two groups, all right? Now, here are some of the variables that we are considering for both studies, by the way. Explanatory variable, right? These are the are the variables that are what? Usually considered to be the researcher can influence that, right? It can be a teaching strategy, it can be a medication if it's an experiment. Those are explanatory variables, right? Those that were derived or what the researcher got from the participants are what we call the response variables. There'll be one of them, let's say achievement, right, or test scores. Can also be like what their motivation score is, or reading test score is, or their heart rate, right, or their beats per minute, or something, right? So those are what we call the response variables. There are two different variables in here of particular importance to any of those studies as well. First is the confounding variable, right? It's an explanatory variable considered in the study that may confuse the effect of the other explanatory variable. Okay, for example, if your, say, teaching strategy, right? For example, if the teaching strategy is called, say, fun online games teaching approach. Okay, fun online games teaching approach. Now, there are two variables playing in there. First, it being fun, and second, it being an online game. Now, with that being said, after you have done this teaching strategy, you cannot determine now if the teaching strategy being fun or the teaching strategy being an online game itself is actually the one that influences the test scores, right? You get my point, guys? Right? Those are what we call confounding variable, right? If you have two explanatory variables playing a part on your intervention, that you don't know now, after the result of the study, you don't know now which among those explanatory variables, or is it both of them, that actually influences the test scores. Did you get it, guys? Okay, so that's what we call a confounding variable. And the last one is our lurking variable, right? It's another explanatory variable not considered in the study, but may have confused the response variable as well, right? So whatever the responses of the participants are, this lurking variable might have influenced that one, but that's not a part of, you did not consider that on the research. Well, you may have like overseen that part of the variable, but it plays a role on the input of the participants, right? Those are what we call lurking variable. Now, let's read this statement in here, or this scenario in here, and answer some questions regarding such, okay? Let's read this one, okay, please. Thank you.
Magnum LLC is a web page design firm that has two designs for an online hardware store. To determine which is the more effective design, Magnum uses one page in the Denver area and a second page in the Miami area. For each visit, Magnum records the amount of time visiting the site and the amount spent by the visitor. A. What is the explanatory variable in this study? Is it qualitative or quantitative? B. What are the two response variables? For each response variable, state whether it is a qualitative or quantitative. And C. Explain how confounding might be an issue with this study.
Thank you. All right, so there we go. So first of all, let's analyze this particular study, right? So once again, how many designs are there? Two, right? Designs for what? Well, this is a design for an online hardware store, right? Right now, I am receiving a lot of this email from an online auto parts store. So yeah, I'm flooded with like what's on sale, what they have as a, promotion or something, So yeah, so this one has two designs for an online hardware store. Now, what is the goal in here?
To determine which is a more effective design.
Thank you. All right. Now, they were exposed to two different areas, right? You good? Right? So, that's two pages, right? The first page is where? Yeah, so the Denver area actually, uses the first page. Okay. The second page, however, was used in what? The email accounts, right? In the Miami area, right? There we go. Now, for each visit, okay, of the participants, Magnum records the amount of time that the email accounts or the participants actually viewed the site. Like, okay, did they spend like half an hour? It's like, okay, what's on sale on this online hardware store? Do they have like, what's being sold on the online hardware? I just went to one of those last weekend, and they still have some, Christmas stuff on sale. I think they said like 75% off. So I think we got some things in there. I think Christmas lights or something. So and the what? Amount spent by the visitor. Good. If they actually did some purchase, right? Good. So first is what? Their interaction with the website, right? And they measured it with what? Minutes, right? The second is if they actually checked out and actually bought something from that online store, okay? Are we good? Right. Now, let's read letter A. What is the explanatory variable in the study? Again, the explanatory variable is the one that the researcher actually changed, right? Or influenced, right? So what did the researcher or the company actually changed? The design, right? We good? There are two designs, right? On that online hardware store, right? So that design is an explanatory variable, the one that the researcher actually changed for the study. And is it qualitative or quantitative? Well, qualitative, right? It's the quality of the design. Maybe one is like, say, maybe just a color, blue, right? Good. And the other one is, say, red. Okay, so just maybe for example, right? Maybe from the color, which one attracts more attention, right? The first page, which is blue, or the second page, which is red. Are we good? Right? So that is what we call the design as explanatory variable. And it's what? Qualitative, right? You good? Yeah. Okay. It's not a quantity, it's not an interval or ratio measurement. It's basically just the design itself, the appearance, maybe the format, right? We good? Okay. Next one, letter B. Let's read that letter B. Okay. Sydney, let's read letter B.
One of the two responses variables for each response variable states either it is
Qualitative or quantitative?
yeah.
Thank you. All right. So for that, let's see. What are the two response variables? Again, response variable are the inputs of the participants, right? Okay. So what are the two response variables? Yes.
The amount of time visited.
Thank you. Right. There we go. Amount of time visiting, right? The website. That's correct, right? Well, what's the second response variable for that? Okay, so let's see that one. That's the amount of time visiting. That's correct.
Yeah.
There's one more. What is that in there? JC, order. The other response variable, other than amount of time visiting. Anyone? Obi?
Amount spent by the visitor?
Very good, right? Did they actually check out? Right? Right? Did they actually check out and actually purchase, right? I'll be good. Got it, guys. So that's it, right? Spend, right? Yeah. We good? There we go. Well, is it quantitative or qualitative? Or both? What do you think? Well, when you talk about amount spent by the consumer from that online purchase, what do you call that? Quanti or qualitative?
Quantitative.
Quantitative, right? It's amount of money, right? So it's in terms of dollars, right? Maybe I have spent like what? $150.84 on, what do you think is $150.84 on an online hardware store? What can you buy on a $150? Huh? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are correct, yeah, there we go, right? Amount of time visiting the site. Again, when you say amount of time visiting the site, we're talking about what? Minutes, right? Or maybe they just accidentally click that online, online hardware store. So like, oh, I think that's like not of my interest, right? Or So what is this? Qualitative or quantitative?
Quantitative.
Quantitative.
But I was gonna ask, could you say like anytime it says amount of something, it's normally gonna be quantitative?
Typically, yes, but again, there are some leeways behind that. But typically, yes, if you talk about amount, you talk about quantity, right? Okay. I would say almost always.
Okay.
But again, there are always some special cases for that wording. But yes, typically, if it says amount, it's that.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yes, sir.
There we go. Okay, next one in here. Explain how confounding might be an issue with this study. Once again, a confounding variable is what? Another type of explanatory variable considered in the study that may confuse the effect of other variables, right? What might have affected the amount of time visiting the site and amount spent by the visitor based just from the two designs? Yes, go ahead, please.
Well, they're in two different locations.
Very good. That's correct, right? The confounding variable in here might have been the location, right? Yeah. So I would say in here, various locations might have what? Definitely various preferences as well.
Yeah.
Preferences.
Or even like Wi-Fi connection, they could spend more time on the site because their screen's loading longer.
That's correct as well, right? It might have been that, say, Miami has, a better signal in there, And because Miami is kind of like a coastline, it's more, you know, active, right? Actually, Denver is more active as well, but it's more on the like plateau, right? It's more of like a plateau in there. We good? Right. So there are some other, you know, things that might influence. I was just said in here, they might just be some various preferences based on locations that might have influenced the selection of the design. Are we good? Right. Any question regarding that one, guys? Get it?